What's going on, guys? Welcome to GuildGab episode 105. This is a show all about Guild Wars 2. Today we're going to be talking about episode 1 of season 5, Whisper in the Dark. I'm here with my wonderful, fabulous co-hosts, RPG Alex, MMOings, and CorvusPlays. What's going on?
What's up?
Look at your beautiful faces. Well,
Quick
two of your
correction.
beautiful faces.
It's not season 5, it's the Ice.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Ice
yes.
Brood Saga.
The Ice Brood Saga, not season 5. It's season 5.
It's season 5. God, it's definitely season 5.
It's totally season 5. Do you
anything,
think
it's a
that
bit
the
small.
naming thing was like they were they're trying to sell this as like an expansion type thing and wanted to give it a name?
I think they're trying to, but
I didn't say,
don't
do you
know.
think they're successful? I said, do you think they're trying
Yeah,
to sell it as an expansion?
yeah, I think it's a couple things. Number one, it's a rebranding
Sure.
of what Living Story was, to give it sort of a fresh coat of paint, and because according to them, it's going to have expansion-like features.
Expansion level content.
Yeah.
Right? Yes. I don't know what
think
that
it remains to be
means,
seen,
but
because
yeah.
for me, it's gonna come down to whether there's smaller updates in between the kind of big episodes.
Yeah.
Right. So we had the prologue
So,
and then this episode 1. So maybe
Yesterday, a bunch of us did the math, and I think they're up to 6 festival events per year now.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So if they're doing a story every other month, give or take, like this one was 2 months, and we've
Yeah.
seen them do that before, so that's fantastic. Then really, you're getting an update every month. It's either a festival month or story month,
Yeah, I think
and
so.
it just kind of hops back and forth as you go along.
As long as they keep to that release cadence, then yeah. Because the thing is, if they miss a story month, then they have to wait another 2 months before they can put it out, because they can't really displace a festival, can they?
That's a good
Well,
point, yeah.
Heart of Thorns did release on Halloween, so
That's a good point. Yeah,
they're not above doing that. But I said when they announced season 5 that they were going to go right into season 5 that I would love a faster release cadence, but shorter episodes, like less
Agreed,
content.
yeah.
You get less content, but they release faster.
Yeah, I mean, they've certainly ticked one of those boxes.
I was waiting for
Not
that.
with the prologue. The prologue was packed.
The prologue
was huge.
This is what was so weird, that the prologue was like this huge map, all of these kind of different types of events, something very memorable like the Metal Legion thing, and as well as like the escort and kill quests. There was the stuff like where you sit on the platform and you have to shoot the balloons out of the air, all stuff like that. And then
I love that event.
there's hours and hours, loads of content there, and then Whisper in the Dark happened, which was kind of like, okay. I mean, it felt more like thinking back, it felt more, and maybe this is kind of what they're going towards. It felt more like the first episode of season 2. Was it Gates of Maguma?
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt more kind of along that size, where we got that little bit of Dry Top, and
where you only got like the first half of Dry Top, and
we
then
didn't even
the next episode you got the second half, right?
Yeah,
Didn't they say they were
but
going
it's
to
like-
do that with Ice Brood Saga? Was they were going to release like parts of maps at a time?
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah, they did
the
say
map
that.
was pretty sizable that they
Yeah,
released.
I think
this
the
episode.
open world map content was like the best part of the episode for me, anyway.
Well,
But I think this is it's like season 2, like you said, like the kind of intro thing, like the very start. But do you remember before that we had that like Mordrum event in like Brisbane Wildlands?
You mean the one with the
yeah,
The
going
that
token
back.
that it bogged down.
Yeah.
But it's like instead of that, we got a full episode as a prologue or an intro.
Yeah.
So
That's
of
true.
course it's a bit disappointing based on how big the kind of prologue was. But I think like the prologue felt like a normal episode almost. And so
did.
maybe that was just like an episode, and then this is kind of how this is like the form factor for the season going on
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
So maybe and yeah, if they're expanding maps, I would expect us not to have to wait 3 months before we can go around a corner into the next
Into-
area of the same
insert
map.
what's
The same
Yeah.
map, right?
Yeah, so I think
Well, an extension.
it could even be monthly. I would love that,
yeah, but
but
as
we'll have to
well
wait and see.
as well, there is a large chunk of the map that is only accessible once the meta is completed, which is Aesgear's Legacy.
It's not that
Large
big,
chunk
and it's just
corner.
It always feels quite big when I'm in there.
It's cool. It's a cool area, and it looks.
There's really nothing
unique and
there
stuff,
except
but there's a
some
couple
bosses and
chests
some chests, and
Yeah,
the
fair enough.
one Asgear. How do you say his name?
Asgear, I think.
Asgear.
ASGI.
That little piece of lore is there as well for those who
That was cool.
really like the
I
lore.
did like
The him just pulling the tooth away like it's a sled. Yeah, that was good.
Yeah,
Oh, I haven't seen that yet. Nice.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
How is the
But
meta?
yes.
I haven't done it yet.
It's easy.
It felt like Thunderhead.
It's
like
boring.
that kind of meta.
Oh no.
It's
Like just loads of
it's not-
snow effects. You can't really see what's
I
going
got
on.
called-
the particle the
Yeah.
particle vortex is just insane. There's this thing that happens where the more that you're out in the blizzard, the more that your screen gets covered by like ice crystals, and then you have to go and hit up your Raven Mastery thing on a shrine, which you can only get if you've done the second level of Raven, to clear your screen. And then when the boss comes along, it just gets a little bit kind of cluster bummy. But the meta's okay. It's
I like the boss. I thought that was cool.
the boss is cool. The meta
It was.
isn't.
It was.
The meta's
It's
it,
chickens.
no, I look.
It was just the
The meta isn't gonna
fucking-
blow your mind. It's a
No,
defend
it's
event,
gonna
an
do the
attack
exact
event, and then a
opposite of
boss
that.
event.
And the boss is just the freaking anomaly.
Let me
guy
ask you a
from-
question.
yeah.
Do you like watching other streamers or like movies and stuff when you play
No.
video games? Do you like to do that? No? Well, then this meta
Yeah.
event's not for you because that's what this is designed for. I got called really toxic and super negative because of how I talked about the event. But look, the truth is it's just not very interesting, and it's not very challenging, even with less people on the map. And when you're done the event and the giant ice boss spawns, who is very cool looking, very cool looking, even he is not very interesting. You
He's
Star
not- he
Wars
has-
chain his legs down. Six
To be
people.
fair, he has no mechanics.
Only 6 people have to chain his legs down every so often as he trudges along. And then you just DPS him down until you basically cut his legs off, and then he sits in one spot, and
And then
he's
you
just,
DPS
You just
him.
DPS
he's just
him
like
down.
the strike mission, and you just DPS him down.
Yeah,
It's just classic Guild Wars. You just DPS. That's all
yeah.
you
I
have
mean,
to
the
do,
thing
you
is,
know?
it's nothing. Like honestly, it's not that much different to something like I don't know, like the Vine Wrath or any other map meta.
I don't know.
It just is. Maybe it's a little bit simpler, but
Yeah.
it's a map meta, and what you got to remember is that not only they might be easy now, but these events also have to be future proofed as well. So we're talking 3 months down the line, and after 2 weeks, Metal Legion was failing on the reg.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
they've got to
I
make
think
sure that this event scales properly and that it's actually doable for people who actually want to do it.
That's what I was going to ask. Do you think that they have a history of if they make metas too complicated, people stop doing them, and they do fail after a while? You got
The
I
thing
think
is,
most-
I don't think it's about complication. I think it's about rewards. Like people still do triple trouble. People still do the freaking tangle.
Those are
Champs, whatever.
bosses though. That's a little bit different.
Sure, of course, but like
Um,
I'm just saying, if the rewards are there, people will do it, right?
people
like,
do Dragonfall.
Sure, but
it's-
there's
yeah,
no
you can
the
scale it
rewards
that
for
rather than difficulty.
the rewards for the meta aren't anything special.
No, they're
No,
not.
they're not.
Okay.
No, they're not.
And the bigger complaint is not about difficulty. Like you said, it's a map meta. There's going to be 100 people there or whatever. It's not really about difficulty. It's the fact that the pre-event to the boss takes 10 to 12 minutes of
Mm.
sitting
Yeah.
around doing really
Nah,
not much of anything.
See, this is what I think. What made me like it was the build up to it.
The build-up is boring.
The build up is
Enemies
boring,
spawn.
but it felt kind of like
Like there's a bomb guy who carries a bomb to the Raven nest, and he puts the bomb down. Now you can ignore him actually and just DPS the bomb down. But even if the bomb goes off, it doesn't do any
anything.
significant damage to the Raven statue for you to
Mm.
feel like you're gonna fail or be threatened
Because
or
can't you just stand
you
in the
know?
circle and it builds it back up again?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
But
I don't
that,
know,
that,
man.
that-
It's really long. It's really boring.
I
It's
think
very long. There's not.
I-
Yeah, no, you're right. I think
I th-
one thing this event needs. I know it splits the players right to defend each statue, right? But maybe more underneath that, more specific roles for people to take. Like there's the arrow cards you can build up and stuff like that. Maybe if there was like a mechanic like a Tequatl where like someone needed to be on those or something to
yeah.
do something, like it would make it feel a bit more. But again, this isn't a world like boss. This is just a meta event. So
Yeah.
Mm.
what I'm interested in is how this is going to change once the map has expanded.
Yeah.
Whether
I th-
it'll branch further out, maybe they'll add to it, or if it's just going to be,
That's just gonna be how
an
it is
hourly event.
because that's a good point actually. Because if the map expands, they're not gonna put in a new map meta, are they? Because you can't really have two metas running at the same time. Because that
We
hasn't.
know already
But that
that
hasn't
the
worked in the
next
past.
map, the
It's gonna have-
extension of the map has Drakkar, so it's
Right.
gonna have a world boss to fight.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So,
But that's
so
different.
It won't necessarily have another meta. It'll have a world boss.
That's
Well,
fine.
maybe the loop will work out, so it actually feels a bit more rewarding. Maybe
Yeah.
the waiting around, you're actually going to be the other side of the map doing something else in that time, and it's going to feel a bit
Yeah.
smoother. And...
Yeah, it's kind of like, again, if you take it back to the dry top comparison, because when the first instance of dry top came out, you could only get, was it like tier 4? You could only get it up to a particular level, and there were the reward.
You could
there
bust through the underground, but that was it. That's where it ended.
Yeah, it was like that. You
Yeah.
could.
No. Oh no,
Yeah,
no. I meant the reward structure. Because you
Oh,
couldn't
right.
get.
Oh, I don't remember.
You couldn't get it to tier 6 when the map first came out. To prepare for the sandstorm. So I think Corvus maybe has a point that because and yours Wanks, because we're seeing an incomplete part, we're seeing an incomplete map, then maybe because we're only seeing half of what constitutes the meta or the end zone for that particular map, that because we're missing the piece, that's why it seems incomplete or underwhelming.
It might just
but-
it might just fill the gap, like of waiting in between and stuff. And
The
also,
difference
one thing,
is
okay.
those bosses were much more rewarding than this one, and they had the 3 different bosses. There's 3 of them, right? Or is there 4? The 3 different bosses had 4. The 4 different bosses had unique mechanics each to deal with when you went down to fight them.
That's
Where was this? Sorry,
Silver Wastes.
No. I'm talking about dry top, not the silver wastes.
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, no, dry
Silver
top
Waste is better than Dry Top.
Oh, yeah.
But dry top was a lot.
It is, but yeah,
Agreed.
but silver wastes was the sand giant was trash though. It was just a
Dry top was a bit more
massive health pool.
Right. Maybe it's
Massive
gonna
health
Right,
pool
but
and
you're supposed
knockback
to
mechanics.
you're supposed to learn and advance your development as you go along. So you've got Dry Top, then you got Silver Waste, much better.
Silver waste was great.
Now
yeah,
you've got
still
you've
a great
got
map.
this iteration, which, let's be fair, we don't know what it all looks like just yet. But the very first meta is not very exciting, and its rewards are kind of on par with everything else.
Do you think maybe they've the eggs are in the basket with the strike mission on this map? They're maybe relying on the strike mission a bit to fulfill that kind of end game.
I think we want to go to criticism for that already. I mean,
I think for now, but one thing I would say is that maybe if you imagine like Dragon Stand, right? Maybe what we're seeing is like half of the event. Maybe we spend ages slamming hammers into arrow carts, to repair them, and then we do this event that we've got right now, and then maybe once that's done, we can then make a coordinated push to the other side of the map to take on Drakkar, and it's like part of like a large scale meta event. That at the end is actually really rewarding. It's just right now we've only got like the intro piece of it.
I would say that from a design perspective, though, you should design them to stand on their own and become a greater thing together later.
Yeah.
If that's the case.
Peachy, what do you think? You've been quiet so far.
Well, I haven't done the meta, so
okay.
That's
she doesn't play Guild Wars, so
no.
So I guess I'm sure we can I'm sure we want to talk about like the bone skin and all that, but should we have a chat about the story, because I think that's
Yeah, let's go to the story.
Yeah.
That I did play. Well, you gotta remember the episode was delayed 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So
3 hours.
and
Unacceptable.
a
Uninstall.
super long stream that day. I gave away so much stuff.
I
Literally
saw.
everything in our guild bag. I just sat there and did giveaways for 4 hours. So that was interesting. A lot of viewers. Thanks for the heightened viewers for those extra 3.5 hours ArenaNet. That was really nice. But no, I did sit and do all the story last Tuesday. It was as we said earlier, a little short, surprisingly, considering compared to the prologue, which blew it out of the park. Like, prologue blew my mind. Like, I was like, holy crap. Like, I was late streaming that day because it was so long and I wasn't expecting it to have that much content and wanting to do the stuff in the map. This time I just kind of beeline the story, but a lot of the story took place in the map. They brought back the meerkat thing, where you have the players running around the open world and you saw everybody else with little ravens following them, and anytime you saw that, you knew that they were at the part of the story where Bram is following you in the open world.
I love that so much. It's so cool.
I thought that was good, but there's stuff that happens that especially if you're playing it on release, there's such a mass of players around you that sometimes it's hard to concentrate on what the NPCs are saying, or like at the very beginning whenever you are talking to Marjorie, and like I can't even see Marjorie. Like, I hear her talking, but there are literally 100 players standing on top of her, and I'm just like, I guess she's in there. I don't know. So I wish that kind of stuff was instanced.
Problem, man. This has been a problem in Guild Wars for so long now as well.
They fixed some things. I appreciate the things that they have fixed about that, such as they now do NPC conversations tend to trigger when you walk up to them rather than completely randomly. So you have an opportunity to catch these random conversations. They happen as you get close, and there's a lot less overlapping of like, I'm listening to this, and then someone over here is talking, and then someone back here is starting to talk, and you don't know who to listen to. You're listening to 8 NPCs talk at the same time.
That was a big problem with the prologue, actually, wasn't it? Like
I said, it's gotten so much better than it used to be.
Yeah.
The problem was like the listening to Bram and Ryland on the phone. You know, that would just come in sometimes when there's all this stuff going on.
That came in during the concert, and I was like, "Shut up, Bram."
Yeah. The having open world stuff interrupt conversations is tough. I know that my second playthrough, which was the next day, when I did it on stream, was much better. And in fact, I feel like I missed a lot my first playthrough through, because there were so many people that were some of the fights you have to do when you get split into 3 groups, like you go with Marjorie or Ritlock. Peachy. Like, those events were ending so quickly because there were so many people that like the dialogue was cutting, which I can't necessarily blame ArenaNet for. There was just so many people. But when I went back and did it the next day, there were less people on the landing pad, so I could actually see Marjorie and Ritlock. There were less people doing the event, so I could sort of hear the whole story. I will say this. There's traumatic moments in all 3 of those things where you follow Bram, Ritlock, Peachy, or Marjorie. The Marjorie one was really good. They have traumatic moments in all of them, but then what happens is the traumatic moment ends and it goes back to regular dialogue, and the transition is poor there. It just goes from dramatic voice acting to, okay, Commander, let's move on.
Yes, the Marjorie one was really good, but it did just it was really abrupt, just stopped. And I don't know if it was a bug or if NPCs, because other NPCs I think are going through the same thing. They're getting kind of spoken to or something. But I remember hearing the exact same voice line as the Marjorie wand when I was with Ritlock and stuff.
Yeah, same. I would get
So-
repeated voice lines and stuff.
So that kind of took away from the impact of the whole Marjorie
Right.
thing.
And I also had an opposite problem of I some of them I had them end too quickly and then dialogue would get cut off. I wish it would just finish. Like whatever audio track is playing, just finish that one and like cue them up
Just
almost.
queue
You
up.
know,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
wish it would
exactly.
cue it up rather than just cut it off if the event ends really quickly. But I also had the opposite problem with one of them. I had the story event spawned and a dynamic event I think spawned like on top of it at the same time, and there were so many enemies, and I was there with only like a couple other players, and we just got destroyed because the two events were on top of each other, and it was just like wall to wall bad guys, and we got slaughtered. And I was like, okay, let's go try this again.
Well, I guess the commander's dead again. Let's move on.
It was weird that, like, I mean, mine was actually okay. I just thought it was a little bit weird that Marjorie decided it was that moment to have a breakdown about her sister, considering that she's been strapped to her back for the last 3 years as an inanimate object.
Yeah, but she
I was
saw
like,
It was playing mind games. Jormag playing mind games with
He's
everybody.
playing the mind game.
Visually seeing her is different from knowing that she's gone.
The thing is that I like that first little instance, so cool, so creepy.
Okay, that was one of the highlights of the episode for me, was right at the beginning, walking in and seeing a literal pile of dead bodies. And it wasn't just like they were placed there haphazardly, you know, the models on top of each other. Like, you can tell that they sat there and placed every limb, like they were in these weird positions, these unique positions. Every single body in there was like sprawled out really creepily. That was so well done. Like, I just sat and stared at this pile of bodies because I was like fascinated. I was like, oh my God.
They wouldn't let me climb on them either.
Ah.
I climb on the pile of bodies.
It was just cool. Like the way that there were some bodies you could investigate that had different descriptions, and it was just kind of like little touches, like the way that stuff like the way that the doors opened before you got to them, which is it sounds really innocuous, but with the sound design it worked really well. And the way that I did it, if you wander around the fort after you've finished the little bit of story, and Jormag is like, she says a couple of other bits to you as you're walking around when you're trying to collect the research notes or whatever, and it just adds just that little bit more to it, that the sound design and
the
like,
sound design was really good this episode.
It's phenomenal, some of the best they've ever done. And they've got Jormag's voice right on. Spoilers, it's Jormag, not Raven. They've got Jormag right on the money with the voice as well.
I love Jormag. Love them.
The one thing
I got really excited too.
That set up the episode so well, and this is like I tweeted about it just because I was really conflicted about this episode, and I feel like the tone they set up in that instance was so good, and really dark, and really, I don't know, just so much atmosphere there, and it made doing the open world stuff right afterwards like still have that feeling of urgency. And then you have like the forest, which looks amazing, super atmospheric. But then the very final instance, which we'll get to, but that just, it was like a 180 for me. Like it just completely, they should have just kept that creepy, really atmospheric feel going. It was just a shift in tone that like I wasn't expecting at all.
I was hoping for a little more Detective Marjorie time.
Yeah.
You get a little bit at the beginning there, and she's looking at the scratch marks or whatever, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna get some Detective Marjorie. Unfortunately, it doesn't expand enough to really include that. Because it's mostly Bram focused, but
and it happened in the background.
I did like that.
Like, she did her stuff, but it was all off screen. She's like, "You go do this. I'm gonna do my sleuthing."
Do the sleuthing.
I'm like, I want to hang out with Marjorie.
Adding to the Jory and Cass drama, though, you know, she tried to call her and Cass didn't pick up.
Worst relationship ever.
Oh,
Casimir,
what's going on there?
Casimir is the worst girlfriend on the planet. You know, like you're having a traumatic moment. You're trying to get her. She won't return your phone calls. It just goes
What
to
is she even
voicemail.
doing?
She never
I
calls
don't-
back.
Like, what do they even see each other right now? Is it now that Cass is back in the good books with Jenna? I think we can now start building a case to say that Marjorie is literally with her for her money. I think Marjorie's a gold digger, and she's a PI.
no.
She's a PI as well, so she, you know, so she
Cashmere
She
thinks
knows
have
all
any
the
money.
ins and outs.
Yeah,
She knows
yeah,
the
yeah.
accounts, dude.
I'm saying she's a gold digger. What?
Look, they spent like half a season working on a relationship, and the relationship still sucks. So I don't know what
It's
therapist
dread.
they were saying, but it was terrible.
Yeah, my worst
One of them's gonna
relationship is
die.
better than Marjorie and Cass's relationship,
Oh,
and
no, you can't
that's
say
saying
this.
something. That's saying something.
They're gonna. One of them's gonna die.
Poor
Man. They've been
Marjorie.
meaning to do it for years. No, one of them's gonna die, and it's gonna be a whole thing.
I would
Well,
be
no,
for that if it enhanced one of their characters. Like, I mean,
Well, I've been saying this, I think, since like I don't know when, since Belinda died, maybe. But I really feel like Cass should die and Marjorie just goes mental.
either one of them could die and the other one goes crazy, and it would be amazing. It would
Cass
be
is too
amazing
Disney-y.
storytelling.
She's
they
always
did it
she's
right.
always
I
alright. I think
think-
Jory has the potential to go really, really dark.
I
Well-
think the problem is that the characters themselves have been stagnant for so long, it won't have the impact it would have had.
To be honest, then
Back
maybe
when
just,
they were focused on them, yeah.
they might,
I
they might use
agree.
the season to
Whatever.
remind everyone. Oh, remember their relationship? You know, it's not going so well. We might just see more of this, just to kind
But
of.
it was already not
get people
going so
up to
well for a
date.
long time. Like, and
Yeah.
then
I know, but
and
there's a lot of new players now that maybe didn't see that. You know, so
Yeah.
they're probably
And-
gonna
that,
do
I
that
guess
arc
that,
again.
And Jory was supposed to die at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
She was originally supposed to die on the Breachmaker.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I just
yeah. Bet they regret changing that now, don't they?
I want Guild Wars to be character focused because I love character focused stories, because you could put, if I love your characters, you can put them in any situation, any plot line, and I'm gonna love it because it's focused on the characters. If I don't, if I'm mad about your characters, your plot line better be freaking amazing for me to be entranced, you know, and immersed. So like they brought in Jorah's daughter,
Javi.
Javi. So they brought in her. They talked and talked and talked and talked about, you know, her and Almora, who rip Almora without
do you
even
know what?
seeing her. Like, she just shows up dead. And you
To
just
be
find-
honest, I think I wasn't expecting them to pull that.
me
I'm
neither.
gonna trust
So
Almora's
I kind of
on there.
like that.
Like, focus
Yeah,
on
I liked
I'm
it.
saying focus on the characters you have. Focus on the characters you have that people love, which they are doing with Ritlock. They're giving us a ton of development with Ritlock, of fan favorites. So no,
Tired of Ritlock though, man.
if they make
I
him
don't like his
interesting,
changes.
if they make him
Like-
interesting, I'm all for it. I love the relationship, this rocky relationship between him and Kree, except for the fact that he's kind of trying to communicate,
No,
and
he's-
she's just like,
He's
no.
too not the problem with that. I would love
He's
to see more of them if it was like two intense characters at each other's necks, but they care, and you know, it's like a cool dive into both the personalities. But I
Yeah.
really do feel like Ritlock's like got his claws
Look,
removed or something. like-
Ritlock is he's that deadbeat dad who walked out for a pack of cigarettes 20 years ago. Now he's back. He sees
very
that
good.
he sees that Mama is looking still pretty fine, and he's like, "Hey, Krisha, we should, maybe we should hook back up. We got a
Should've
bastard
known
for a
better.
son who's on the bad path right now. He's into drugs or something. He's all following some stepfather I don't approve of, and
Yeah, but just I've got to be honest. Almora's death kind of got me a bit.
It got
Actually.
me. It got me.
Like, Almora is such a cool character. I mean, she's in the first book.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the
because
books and everything.
because she's part of the campaign against the Branded, but she's also a fairly important part of the Vigil
Personal story.
the Vigil
Yeah.
story as well. And I think you even get to interact with her even if you don't choose Vigil. But I just thought she was really cool. I just thought she was one of those
was cool.
really solid supporting characters. And what's kind of weird is it's kind of revealed in the final instance that Almora was already dead by the time you get the message. But the way that the voice comes through, I mean, that was done so well. And
So well.
you I mean, I don't know if you guys like me, but the way that dialogue comes through, that you can immediately tell something's off with it. Like you hear Amora's voice, but it's sort of like the enunciation
Sounds weird.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the way that the sentence is put together, that that you're just like, yeah, that.
Well, see, what was so good about that as well is it went back to the start of the episode, which was already super dark and atmospheric, and then made you remember it and think of it in a whole different way, because then it's like, oh crap, it, wasn't her, and it adds this again. It just added this whole layer to it, which I actually again made the second part just really disappointing for me.
Yeah.
I actually liked her death. I'll tell you why. It actually, believe it or not, it was the first death that made me stop for half a second in Guild Wars 2. The first death out of all the deaths we've had so far was the first one where I was like, damn, that sucks. Just because she was, because you come across her random dead body and somebody buried her in a bunch of rubble, and I'm like, that's a cold way to go out. That sucks.
Yeah.
So I just stopped for a minute. And I was like, I kind of feel bad for you, Almora. That's cold right there.
It's cold. Yeah, I like I went and I did the /kneel and /bow and stuff like next to her, and so it was unfair. It was meant to make you angry.
But I like it. Here's why.
Who buried her.
I doubt it. But here's what I like about it. There's a show on TV called How to Get Away with Murder. And nearly every season starts with the first episode is somebody is dead. And the rest of the season is, how did you get to that first episode?
That's just like every episode of Columbo, though, isn't it?
I don't know. I don't remember Columbo. But I kind of like that, because Almora's dead. You don't know who killed her. Whoever killed her didn't bury her. So then who buried her as well? And Creature tries to inject this. Well, it was probably Ryland, because he's such a good guy. Of course he would stop and bury Almora. Look for evidence of that, which of course there's no evidence that, you don't know anything. So I don't know. I kind of like that we're going to find out later who killed her and then who buried her, because those are two different parties that did those things, right? They're not the same. So I kind of like that.
It was probably the guys that captured them that killed her, I would guess.
I think Bangar buried her.
And then someone else buried her. And I was thinking Bangar, right? And I know Inks, you're doing the shrug, but I feel like we could be looking at an arc that over the next year or so kind of shifts Ryland into the villain, and maybe Bangar starts feeling regret and nerves and whatever, and kind of second guesses himself. And it could be him having this conflict between, being a normal, cool char dude, and then, this new thing. But Ryland being young, from a broken family, all this, whatever, he could easily fill that gap. And I don't know about anyone else, but like, I freaking love Bangar, and I really don't care for Ryland that much. So
Ryland can go.
I just don't see Bangar as being. I don't see why he would bury her. Why would he carry her?
Maybe she buried herself.
Because the thing is that the last time we saw Bangar, he wasn't corrupted as we think about something being branded or under Mordremoth's control or whatever.
Yeah,
but he was
scared, man.
Yeah, he was certainly a fanatic. He was a zealot, but at the same time, it's almost like he certainly always recognized the achievements that Almora had completed, and all the things that she'd done. And yeah, as someone says in chat, there was certainly a lot of respect between Almora, who led the Vigil, and Bangar, who led the Iron Legion. Was he? Is he Iron or Blood?
Who, Bangar?
Yeah.
Blood.
Yeah. But yeah, there's certainly a lot of respect there. So
you guys could be right. It would surprise me, but you could be right.
No, I just
don't give him.
I just feel like
give him that much credit. I guess
how they're illustrating the characters. Bangar was vicious and really cold, but at the same time was obviously cool and was kind of designed that way to kind of the big fight scene with him and Ritlock and stuff. He's beating up Ritlock, who's a fan favorite, but at the same time there's kind of a weird respect between them and how they're both like that. And I just feel like the way they're setting up feels more like that.
Yeah.
And again, in classic kind of Guild Wars, the villain seems a bit kind of unknown. Like if
Yeah.
Ryland is the villain, it kind of makes sense because we don't really know much about him. It's easier to twist that than a kind of
Maybe.
established character that
Yeah.
people.
I'll-
I
Maybe
don't know.
we don't have a villain this
I'll-
this season, this
Not-
saga. Maybe there isn't a villain because
Well, yeah.
I don't know. After Jormag's speech, I think I'm Team Jormag. I'm ready to
Oh,
sign
you
up.
believe him? You
Oh,
believe
I-
him?
No,
just
of
want to
course
say-
not. You can't believe the dragon, but I'm ready to. They convinced me. I'm ready to
Apparently,
sign
that's
up.
what the commander said. That
Yeah,
actually
yeah.
bothered me. Skipping to the very end, and Jormag saying, "You know, I'm on your side. I've talked to Aurene, and she wants everybody to
yeah.
be in
Of course,
peace."
not like
And
this.
yeah, it's totally good.
Yeah,
We're all
me
good.
and
It's not
Aurene
just possessing
bros.
everybody, possessing
Definitely.
Almora to talk to you.
Yeah.
But the commander, like when after Jormag's speech, and Bram's like, we're not gonna believe this,
Yeah,
are we?
Bram.
And the commander's just like, no, of course not. I was like, why not? Maybe.
Uh-oh.
Like, why did you just
Maybe.
like? Why are we not giving this a second thought?
Oh,
I
such a
don't know.
good
Because they
cutscene.
because what's happening is also I just want to say that I still think it's Vanguard because Almora was also buried with a sword, which implies a military burial.
Oh,
Her sword
okay.
was near her.
nerd.
Was there a sword
Nerd.
in the?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was close by. Yeah.
Yeah.
But maybe it's just sort of like a ploy by Jormag because she's terrified that every time the pact or whatever seems to come together with a plan to not kill another elder dragon because it's
Just
bad
goes
for
a
the
bit,
world, and
"Uh-oh, we
everyone just go,
accidentally killed it."
"Oh, not again!" Yeah, and she's just like, dudes, come on, please.
But no, it super doesn't matter
I'm-
because
I'm
we
just
have
awake and
Aurene.
awake and hungry. Come on.
Well, it's a lot of the characters are either, and I was talking about this with Teapot and them, but a lot of the characters are going through a Lost or Walking Dead kind of retirement, where when a character fulfills its story arc and there's no more meaningful story, they get rid of the character. Now, in those shows, they kill them. In Guild Wars 2, half of them go into retirement and half of them die. So
I think
I think Almora's was done. Her story was done,
Yeah.
kind of.
I think it's normal for an MMO to kind of, they go on the back burner, kind of on the bench until they're needed, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, maybe it kind of needs a culling a little bit. There's a lot.
Yeah.
Of
There's a lot of characters.
Yeah, I mean,
But
timing.
there's
what?
ways to
Sorry?
do that right. There's ways to do that
She
right,
dead
and I
yet?
I don't think ArenaNet
Yeah.
is an expert at that. I mean, I love
Mhm.
the game, but the characters are a little too spread too thin. You need to focus.
Mm.
There's ways.
If I was gonna kill a character in Guild Wars, I'd give a teenager muscular dystrophy. I think.
Ouch. What the WTF? Oh, poor
it's a good way to do it. I'm
That's
just
how
saying.
I'd do it.
Jeez.
Oh wait, they have.
He says with
They
a
have,
serious
haven't they?
face. There was zero timey even hearing from her in
I
this
know,
episode.
right?
Was there last episode? Has there been any timey
No.
this entire season?
No.
I think
there
that it
wasn't-
was
there
mentioned
no
that she's
timing.
doing her dragon research in the prologue
Right,
or
yeah.
something. There was
Dragon
mention
research.
of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gorg says she's off writing a paper.
By the way,
Yeah.
she's still dying.
Or will or
Still
something.
dying. Oh no.
Still dying.
What if Timey makes a deal with Jormag behind everyone's back?
Ice
to,
legs.
Not die.
Ice legs. Just two little lollipop sticks. Just bump around. It could be like a Winter's Day collection or something. It'd be great.
Tiny.
Terrible.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry.
I was
Oh my
actually
God.
sort semi being serious that that Jormag offers Timey some kind of energy or partnership that will
Yeah.
that
World, man. She's
that
too
will prolong her
strong.
life. But no,
I don't know.
because what we're seeing before, what we've seen is as the dragons have kind of progressed. Like Zaitan was just out and out evil. He was just like, rah, I'm gonna do me undead thing. And then Mordremoth was kind of tried to mess with your mind and turn your allies against you. And then,
But in a very different way from Jormag.
but
Yeah.
bear with,
Morgemoth was
that's-
very aggressive.
that's kind
Like,
of my
you
point.
can't beat me. I am going to bash you down.
Yeah,
until you
yeah,
submit.
exactly. That's
And Jormag
that's
is
kind
the
of
opposite.
yeah. That's my point. And then Kralkatoric felt more more primal. It
He
didn't.
was insane. Like he was mad.
It didn't
right?
feel like like an intellectual aggressiveness with Kralkatorrik.
Right.
It always
Right. He
felt
was out of
very.
control.
It was desperate.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like an animal
Yeah.
fight and flight kind of thing almost.
Exactly. So Kralkatorrik had that desperation, and now it's almost like Jormag is almost at like the bargaining stage of
The
the
cosmic brain.
Exactly.
The cosmic
Jormag's like,
stages.
whoa, hey, back up there. Let's calm
Let's
down.
just calm down. Let's just
Put that
calm
sword
down.
away.
There's no need.
Listen.
You put those dragon's
we
blood
can be
spears away,
friends.
and put out the matches. But no, in all seriousness, I think it's kind of interesting that again we've got another dragon, and there is for the fourth time there's a dragon looking at another angle of self-preservation.
I can't wait for
mean,
the next one
I
because that
love
one
it.
will be like the funny one, and then maybe the one after that will be like the sleepy one or the lazy one.
That's Bubbles.
That's not. Yeah, Bubbles is just asleep.
Bubbles is the sleepy, lazy one. What's going on? No, leave me alone. I'm trying
Turns
to
out
take a nap.
Primordus is funny as hell.
I really like Jormag so far, and I know that it's mostly because it's a personality they're developing, but so there's a bit of lore with Asgeir, or however you say his name, where Jormag says to him basically, "Look, you're doing a real good job, buddy. You chipped my tooth. You knocked a tooth out.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Listen, we don't need to keep doing this. We can just be friends. You can come back with your swords and whatever, but I'm going to defend myself and you're going to lose. So let's just be friends. Move south. Go to Florida. It's nice
Just
there.
chill
It's
out, man.
warm.
Yeah.
Diplomacy
You don't want to
dragon.
be up here. Look, it's
Just
terrible up here. There's
stop fighting
snowstorms
stuff,
everywhere.
you know?
Come on. Just
Stores, just man.
retire, relax,
It's
take
gonna
your
be
people
fine.
south.
I know
It's all
Aureen.
there.
You know Aureen. I know Aureen. We're buddies.
We're friends.
Bros, man.
But that's the thing, right? So like he went back with the tooth and kind of said that stuff just to try and persuade. He lied to the Norn to persuade them not to challenge the dragon in order to stop them from essentially killing themselves, because he was won over and bargained with by Jormag. And I like this it's kind of a more traditional dragon. They just stand there and they kind of outwit you or whatever. Loopholes and this kind of thing. And so I like the personality that they're building for Jormag. I just hope I hope they explore it massively. I don't want this to be kind of a quick kill or something, or for us to just kind of blindly. I want us to listen.
I like the whispering. I like
The
it.
whispering is very cool. And there's a visual effect
Go to
too
the gym
around
store.
your
Buy stuff.
character's head whenever you're getting talked to, and you can
yeah.
see it even though you can't hear when other characters are getting talked to by Jormag. You can see the visual effect if you look at them. So like I knew when Bram was hearing things, even if I couldn't hear it. That was really cool.
You know what I hope we meet the dragon and we actually have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we go away and we have to think about stuff and I don't know. I hope they build it up as like a character we meet, because it's been a common complaint so far that the dragons have felt like kind of lousy villains.
Yeah.
And I think
I want them to take it to the next level,
That's why
though.
Scarlet and
Most
Joko
part,
were the best
never
villains, because they had personalities.
Well, Joko, it was just
Joker.
I want them to take it to the
Personality.
next level, though. She whispers to you like, look, you don't need to fight. You're real tired. Hey, maybe you should take
Just
a break.
sit down,
Lay down.
man.
Take a nap.
Take a nap.
I want the gem store to
Forever.
randomly pop open sometimes, and she says, "Man, you should buy a
Just
hat. Just buy a mount.
It's only
Spend
it's only
$5.
$10.
Spend $5. Yeah, come on.
They did change the location of the Black Lion
Yeah,
store icon
yeah.
They
in the upper
did.
left-hand corner.
Actually, that's the update that no one's talking about. I mean,
I wonder
You know,
why.
Sneaky. What was on the end? Like PvP or War versus World? They're gonna by default go up there. PvPers are not buying enough things from the gem store. We're gonna switch
man.
out their icon, so every time they go up there to hit it, they're gonna hit the gem
it's
store
the
instead.
icon as well. I thought I was going mad until I looked on Reddit, and I just thought that's different. That's
No,
a
the
different
new
icon. That's in a
icon's-
different place.
And you know what? It works because I misclick that stupid icon all the time now.
Bro, you're not a true gamer unless you have keybinds for all of the tabs.
I know, but
I have
Anyway,
keybind for every
so-
tab of the gem store.
So,
all my keys just to the gems. Every key.
excuse me.
That Springer mount, though. That
Yeah.
Springer mount Hell,
Alex is dying.
Hellfire Demon Springer mount.
Timmy's
Sorry.
revenge.
Yeah. I got one of them,
What?
which
Did
is
you?
a shame. Yeah, it's a shame because I don't use it because I've got the gecko.
Oh yeah.
Ew.
I
The
love
guy
my
was
little
cool.
The
Why
gecko's
would
I
you
love my
awesome.
little
that one though?
my angry bun. It's a bit weird that it didn't come out on Halloween.
It does
I'm gonna
feel a
be
bit
honest.
out of place.
Hmm.
If they
Yeah.
just made it more icy, it would have fit well with the patch.
Yeah.
Well, you can dye it. You can make it look icy.
You can.
Yeah.
You can.
But
Yeah.
then the default dye should have been that. Then I don't
Yeah.
know. It definitely feels Halloweeny though.
Mm. But yeah. So like, I guess the going all the way to like the last instance, which came around far too soon. It was kind of cool. That you have that the fight was interesting enough. I think it was.
I
it was
lost the
about-
boss at one point. I was like, did my game glitch? I was like, do I have to restart the instance because I couldn't find
No,
him because he was
it's-
hiding behind a pillar and everyone's like,
it's-
no,
it's-
he's there. You just gotta find
it's
him. And
a
I was
very-
like, okay.
It's a very poorly explained mechanic that you actually need to kind of exploit for the achievement. It's called something like True Ice, where you have to find him inside 5 seconds once he shifts to that thing, and do it that way. But again, it's pretty easy to figure out. In many ways, there's almost like some mini raid mechanics in there. So sort of like having to direct his attack into a pillar is a little bit Cardinal Adina.
You know what? No, but you know the problem is that I didn't do any of that.
What'd you
Like,
do?
I
Rock
didn't
stomp them?
like. Yeah, bam skills and you win. And I didn't even know that the pillar thing was a thing. What?
I
the
saw you
idea
could
is
do
that-
it, and I was destroying pillars, but then they just came back, and I was like,
Yeah.
why am I doing this?
I just found him when he turned into the big white mist thing, and then he teleported around and shot the circles out, jump over them or whatever. That was it. I just TPS'd him down. What?
I think the idea is that you destroy the pillars, and then you can use the Raven Mastery to clear conditions and clear the ice off of you, and kind of do it that way, which just proves
idea.
it's
I
just
had no
another
idea.
example of how goddamn useless the Raven Mastery is.
Well, but
Oh.
if you avoid all that stuff, then you don't really need it.
No, but
Yeah.
Raven will help you if you're.
They should have either made that stuff mandatory, or at least explained it. I don't know. I
Yeah.
didn't
They
even need to
didn't-
think about it.
It did feel like a raid or a strike mission, though. Like the first thing that popped in my head when I saw all those mechanics, I was like, "Oh, I wonder if this is a strike mission," because it was
Yeah.
so set
Well,
up
he
like
will
that.
be. He releases today, actually.
Oh
later.
really?
Oh.
Okay.
Well, there you
Yeah.
go.
yeah. So we've got him as a strike mission, and then,
Nice.
but yeah, I mean,
Maybe it'll be more crucial in that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
to
sure.
do the
I'm sure.
mechanics. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, yeah, the mastery system in particular in this patch was just all over the place. It's so weird that like the resilience valor vigilance thing kind of interesting. When you like collect the orbs and you do extra damage to enemies that are weak to it and that kind of thing. But what kind of really blew my mind about the mastery is both the reward at the end of the meta and the strike mission is that you need full mastery just to get the rewards.
Mm,
And
Yeah, the
es-
chest. You can't
es-
unlock,
essentially what you're doing is you say don't bother do this content
right.
until you've done the mastery. It's just mad. I don't understand it.
You get
They
like a
mailed
couple
me-
of like the normal Norn
You get a
chests.
couple,
The
but
next
if
day, they mailed me 2 chests when I completed my masteries. I don't know if that's normal or
I'm not.
Oh.
I've not got that yet, but it was just weird. It was just really weird. That getting the vigilance, resilience, and valor masteries, just
Yeah.
it blocks you off from particular rewards from the strike missions, and
I
I did the strike mission just because I wanted to do it, and I was playing it, and I was like, oh well, I didn't get the rewards, that was fine. But if
they
you
did
go
a...
in.
Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say, and the group I was with, we one shot it because someone in there had done it before. But can you just imagine if you spend 45 minutes on that without having done the masteries, and then you can't and then you can't
This
collect
guy.
any of the rewards? I'm just like, come on, that's just poorly implemented.
Yeah,
Although-
it's a shame.
They had an
Go ahead.
article the week before this released, and I did a video on it, and I said, even then I said, the fact that you'll have to have the masteries in order to get some of the rewards to open these chests, I said that's a mistake.
Absolutely.
Sure enough, I went and did the strike mission on day one because I'm excited. It's a good strike mission. It's a good fight.
Good strike mission, yeah.
I did it in public with like 6 people, 5 or 6 people. It would have been nice if we would have had 10. But anyway, it took us 3 attempts. Would have taken us less if people would listen, but people refused to listen. I said we're fighting, we're killing the Barebow, right? By the way, Barebow, it's a good one, ArenaNet. We're killing the Barebow, and I said, we should really kill them together at the same time, or else one of them is going to resurrect or something. Something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
And sure enough, if you kill one before the other one goes ham and just starts filling the room with damage, and you just die very quickly.
What?
So
I did hear that the Enrage is pretty much an insta kill, but is it just like you just get AoE spammed until you all fall over?
the hammer guy starts in pie charts. He starts hitting the ground with his hammer.
Oh,
And
right,
it just
okay.
fills the floor with that red stuff that kills you very quickly.
Yeah.
It's not instant death, but it's very fast.
Okay.
So anyway, after 3 attempts, we killed it. Fantastic. But none of us had the mastery unlocked. So not only do we not have the CC capability for when they join in the center, which really sucks because you really want to break their bars.
Yeah.
But number 2, none of us could get any of the loot because we didn't have the masteries done.
That's just...
Now, to be fair to ArenaNet, when I unlocked the masteries later that night, the next day I got a mail that gave me 2 chests. So I don't know if that's supposed to happen for everybody who did it like that or what, but I got 2 chests the next day. So I did get the rewards retroactively, or I did get the rewards eventually, but yeah.
But why do it then? If it's gonna count and you still got the rewards for doing it without the mastery, why even have the mastery requirement?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
you're logging in.
Yeah, I mean,
Level
how do
up
you
those
feel about the
masteries.
mastery, Peachy?
I don't like it's like a rock paper scissors thing to me. It's like this is stronger against this, and this is strong against this, and I don't know. It just makes me go, why? Why do we need this? Like, there could have been a different mechanic, like all in the season, the previous seasons, it was, everything was tied to like a movement ability or something. And this just kind of seems unnecessary to me. Like, it's not exciting to me. I'm not like excited to build up my red and go kill the blue or whatever it is. Like, I'm just like, I don't, it's
just a barrier to what you would normally do.
Like
you could
I'm just
normally
gonna go,
DPS.
Right, I could just normally go in and DPS it. So why is there this special
I would
thing?
have rathered. I like this rock paper scissors thing.
Yeah.
But the masteries just didn't feel like most other masteries feel like an upgrade to my character.
Right. Yeah.
This just doesn't feel like that. And I would have rathered, instead of doing this rock paper scissors kind of, I don't know, like it's like Pokemon or something.
Yeah.
What they could have just done is freaking added like elemental damage again, like in Guild Wars 1, and maybe you use fire runes or things like that. Like, done something a bit deeper that would have changed the game up a bit more and added a bit more depth to builds.
So
would have worked well with the build templates. There's a lot more they could have done with this kind of idea without it feeling like,
or what if
I
they
have
like
to do this first.
What if, because you can kind of swap on the fly depending on what you kill, you just go and collect all the little things, right? It's like not that hard to collect 30 of them and max it out. What if they did something like, once you unlock the mastery, you can like set yourself as Valor, for example. And I can't, I wish it was like fire, water, or something, because I can't remember Valor, what, like I don't even remember what the 3 are. But like, I would have liked it if you could, let's say I set myself as Valor for the next hour on the map. Maybe after you do the meta event, you can charge yourself with one of them. And then there's events around the map where one event needs a bunch of Valor people, but you can't swap on the fly. So then everybody in the map is saying, hey, who's Valor? Who's Valor? We need some Valor people here who are charged with that. And then you feel important. Like, oh, I'm Valor. I can go help with this
it would
event.
add the roles to the event. Maybe even it's
Right.
just an icon, kind of like an attunement. And
Right.
you
That's
set,
like Veil Guardian
maybe
mechanics, man.
maybe you can swap like out of combat
Yeah.
or something, but you need to fill a bar to be charged. And
Yeah.
maybe you fill a bar by getting kills with that attunement or something. So then everyone at the
That
start
is
of the event like splits
you
into the
do.
thing, sets themselves as the attunement, and then throughout the event and during the first phases or whatever, they're charging their bars up with the kills they're getting, and then by the time the boss comes around or something, everyone's charged in their correct attunement.
Yeah.
And then can do mechanics, and if they
What's-
extended that to, I don't know, maybe the next part of the map and then into the next map and over the whole season, it could become like a real kind of part of people's builds and stuff. It would be really
Right.
cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Make it feel more
No.
important that you are attuned to this thing.
This is kind of
Yeah.
just throwaway, almost like
we
again, like
we
I
have
said before, it's
another-
just delaying your normal DPS. Really,
there's another issue as well as so in episode 2, all of those masteries will go up to tier 3 instead of tier 2. You already know that from the article. But after episode 2, there's no guarantee from episode 3 onward that mastery is going to be utilized again in the other maps, because there's different project leads and teams and stuff that determine what is used. Like when are there, like in this map there were ice jump mushrooms and updrafts. So that's great from Heart of Thorns, but it's up to the team to decide like when those things are implemented. And I really think that they should develop an overarching, like if this mastery thing is going to be so important, it should be used in every episode this season, not just the first 2, because otherwise you get the code and torch thing again, which is only used in that one map and useless everywhere else. Like, and that just doesn't feel good as a design wise thing. I think the other problem with the system is that early on there's a choice. Do I want to get more might? Do I want more quickness? By the way, quickness is OP. Like, do I want this, that, or the other thing?
Don't tell them, they'll nerf it.
But once you have all of that unlocked, those choices don't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So it's only a temporary amount of time until that stuff sort of matters. And even then, it matters even a little bit less, because you want to train a certain mastery lineup right away to do whichever strike mission boss is on rotation that week.
But there's also it means there's no depth to either, because there's no kind of customization thing. You just kind of get everything and then can just roll with whatever's thrown at you. If you had to attune to one specific like element or whatever, it means that you, even if it's just a micro decision you're making for the next half hour or something, it's still a decision you've made that's gonna affect your gameplay. And I don't know, I just and then if it was like a system that was then implemented, maybe just going forward they really add to this. Maybe there's new elements, new enemy types that come out that require this new element that's added as a mastery or something. Could it change skill effects? Could change your all your skills or anything. I don't know. It'd be cool, but that could be this like expansion level new system or mechanic to customize your builds even further with this new like attunement thing that could then go forward, and it would do the saga a service. It would do the season a service in terms of having this cool mastery thing, and it would help out build templates. If you could maybe slot stuff into there, if there was maybe runes that fitted into it and boosted damage when under a specific attunement, whatever. I don't know. There's a lot they could do with this to benefit like the game as a whole, rather than, like you were saying, just being a mastery you use in one map and then kind of forget about.
And I think they kind of rectified that a little bit with putting gliding and mounts into the core game. Obviously everyone was clamoring for mounts and gliding in the core game as well, but it very much sort of meant, like I said, it meant masteries meant something else outside those particular areas.
And I don't know about you, but like, just unless it's a new mount, like we had with the roller beetle and stuff, season masteries are just always really boring.
I think
it's just
the
like,
mastery...
you can now pick up this unbound magic or something in this map.
Yeah, unfortunately, the mastery system as a whole, even way back in Heart of Thorns now, has never been... I don't think it's ever really quite been what ArenaNet originally envisioned for it.
Yeah.
It's
With
cool when
certain
it affects your
masteries,
movement.
you can't tell me
I
that
just-
gliding and mounts aren't,
They were cool.
like game
No,
changing.
Sure.
For
Sure.
sure, but I think they could explore so much that wasn't just about how you move around maps, whether it's gliding or mounts, or if they add
Yeah,
like
a lot of it is
swimming one or
movement
something.
based.
They could do huge build stuff, extra, because maybe you get everyone has one, like it's like another elite skill, and whichever
Hey, we
you
got
kind of
another
got
down
equipped or
skill,
trained in.
Mister.
True.
I just think
Was
like
that a mastery though?
there's a
Yeah,
lot
It
we
was
could
was.
mastery.
do.
It was,
in
yeah.
Head of the Snake.
See, now that is good. That's good. I think that's a good mastery.
Yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff they could do with this that could really affect like people's characters and how they play permanently,
Instead of just affecting movement or
Mhm.
not
or
affecting
just
you
a
at
little
all.
mechanic on one map for a
Right.
couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's just a lot more stuff they could do, and maybe that'll happen. Maybe once you sink 10 mastery points into one of these lines, it's going to be insane by the end of the saga. I don't know.
I'm a
But
little
I just
tired of the
hope-
special action key too. Like
What?
Yeah.
all this.
Yeah,
All the
Oh,
stuff
I
is
like the
tied to
special action
special action
key.
key.
I like it, but it should
I
be
don't
like
know.
another bar of skills or something at this point.
I'm just kind of tired of special action key.
Well,
For everything.
it serves a function, man, and
Yeah.
it's
They could do more with it.
Uh,
though.
It's
They
certainly
could-
They
better
could
than
do more
having-
with it. Yeah, but I
Yeah.
like it.
but it's so much better than having like a Warcraft kind of extra bar full of these random skills that
Oh,
That's
no,
what I
like,
do
it's
know.
also
I don't like
better
when they
than-
just throw 18 new
Yeah.
skills on you and expect,
No.
okay, go. I'm like, well, I
Like-
got to learn all
like
these
the
for one mission. That I
like
don't
the
like.
I
bounce that
guess
you
my
get
problem.
in-
It's also better than replacing your entire skill bar, like when you're in a tonic or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My problem with it kind of is this. I should build my character to have things like crowd control and
Yeah.
regenerate health. I should build my character to be that way. You shouldn't have to give me a special action to facilitate that because
Hmm.
a majority of the players refuse to take CC or break or whatever the case is. Like I don't know.
Well, that's what the mastery system should do. Is there would be a CC mastery line, and when you max it out, you can add like all of your weapon skills do some CC. And then
You know,
there's
but
another
this is
one
what I
that's like frost or whatever, or slow, and all of your
Yeah.
you could switch to that one if you want. So it's a
See,
part
this,
of your
yeah,
build.
this is the thing. If it's something you kind of equip or choose in a moment, that's fine. But just pressing a key because it appears and it just does it all for you, I think is the problem. But if you could unlock all the masteries, because everyone's going to unlock all the masteries anyway eventually, but you had to equip like one,
Yeah.
that adds kind of like a build
Yeah. Agree.
element to the mastery system, which
And-
I think is really missing.
Yeah.
Something I would have loved, and I know that most people won't like this, and this is why ArenaNet probably doesn't do it, is if I tune myself to Valor, which I agree with Peachy, I can't remember Valor, Resilient, whatever, If I equip myself to Fire
Right.
and the opposing element comes and hits me, I should take damage
More
from being
damage.
hit
Yeah,
by
exactly.
being
Mhm.
attuned to the wrong thing. I should
Mhm.
get punished for being wrongly attuned. And
Yes.
so I should adjust my attunement depending on the area and the mobs that I'm fighting.
Yes.
And it just adds like an extra element of either build diversity or adding a bit more importance to builds, but also just creates a little micromanagement game, which means combat's going to be more engaging. Because Guild Wars 2 has always been kind of face rolly, even if the combat's super fun at first. But for most of us, you just kind of do the kind of rotations that are in your head or muscle memory or whatever.
Yeah.
yeah.
And so having to pay attention to something as well as paying attention to AoEs and dodging and mechanics like jumping over waves or anything else, it would really improve. Like just adding one of those things could improve the combat like drastically and instantly. And that's something they could grow and develop more into as well over time. So I really hope these masteries do go somewhere and don't just kind of get forgotten in, episode 3 or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that
Said.
overall, I think the atmosphere in the story, what there is of it, just about it saves it, right? Like the map's kind of interesting, the story is great, the atmosphere is cool.
I'm
And I
excited
think-
where the story's going to
I
go.
think
but
it just about pulls it through for me.
for me, the map in the first instance carried this episode for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't like the fact that it's like, oh, this guy, he leads all of the iceberg. Oh, we should kill him. Oh, there he's in here for some reason, and then he's dead in 2 seconds. Like, I didn't like that super fast rush and change in tone, and the cutscene where he's like Jormag speaking through him and he's like a puppet. That was like a clown show. That was horribly done. And no offense to anybody, I know what they were going for, and I know why and how it could be interpreted as kind of like grim and, you know, kind of, I don't know, it's a corpse and it's kind of talking, it's kind of ooh, but the way it was animated felt
No,
like,
it's
I don't
supposed
know,
to.
man.
It's supposed to be like that, man.
It was
He had a
so silly.
It's like he had a
man.
stroke. It was supposed to be like
Yeah,
that.
I know,
It's
but
supposed
it
to
was
feel
just
janky and
I
shit.
have to agree
I
with
loved it.
Corvus.
It was silly.
No, I have to agree with
And I would
Corvus.
have
I didn't like it.
I would have
It
loved
didn't
that if
scare
it was
me.
Halloween
Was
or something.
was it a little bit too? Was it a little bit too Gary's mod for you, Corvus?
See, I really liked it. That whole that cutscene, right? There's a couple of reasons I really like it. First of all, I like the fact that it looked like the guy had a stroke and Jormag couldn't quite figure out how to puppet its mouth until the
Yeah,
very end
man.
where it smiles at you. I kind of like that, first of all. Secondly, there's a moment where Ritlock and Krisha look at each other with what Jormag is saying. Like, they give each other a look like, can you believe what's happening? I just love that. And then at the very end, Bram has to be the voice of reason. Bram, of all people, is like, you don't really believe Jormag. And I was like, yes, I do, Bram. Let's go.
It's like, is that shortly
a
before he starts trying to chew the rocks on the ground? Do we trust the dragon? No.
I love that kind of stupid ass stuff, like super silly stuff. I love like old school horror movies that are really like janky and funny and comfy, but like the tone they set up in that first instance, the corpses and everything's dark, the atmosphere in the woods, like everything that they had tried to go for this entire episode just was flipped on its head, and it wasn't even something I could like, haha, that's silly, haha. I was like actually just like, that's really disappointing. And
Especially-
I usually look on everything quite favorably. You know, I'm not, you know, I don't usually dump salt on anything, but like, it just really disappointed me that they'd kind of played with that and nobody kind of clocked on to like, hey, well, we spent a good, you know, hour or two setting up kind of a grim atmosphere. Maybe we should.
Well,
just,
it was also what he
know,
said,
not do
because
that.
that it didn't come to life and
That
say,
was, like,
"I will
thriller,
kill
like-
you, I will murder your children." It was like, "Let's be friends." The story was like,
Yeah.
"You're being it's all creepy and everything," and then he's just to say, "Let's be friends." After I agree with you, after you set up the
Right.
episode
It was
to be super
funny.
dark, which I
His
love.
body
that.
is half limp and he's drooling from his mouth. He's like, let's be friends. Come here. Let's give you a hug.
Okay, also,
It was like
and this goes back to the character thing for me. Like, I love cutscenes. There's been episodes where we have like 3 beautiful cutscenes, very character based. I do love all of the facial animations they give the characters that we know. Phenomenally done. I mean, the prologue with the like Ritlock punching Bangar in the face, like freaking amazing. Like, I lost my mind. But having like 70% of this one cutscene that we got to as the finale of the episode being this weird thing that I don't care about, even though it's Jormag talking, I was still like, what? It just, there was I was disappointed. But I was like, no, I want to see Ritlock. I want to see Krisha. I want to see Bram. I want to see them. I want to see the commander in the cutscene. Because they can do
honestly,
that.
like-
We know that they can do that.
Yeah.
I really liked it, but anyway, it was and you know what, minus whatever I might think about the story length, which I think a lot of people have complaints about. I really love where they're going direction wise. I can't wait to see what's going to happen next.
That was my
Yeah,
favorite part
regardless.
about playing through the episode, especially on stream, was
Right.
the theorizing. We did I was exhausted by the end of it, but we still did about an hour of theorizing with stream on where it is going. That was the most exciting part of this episode.
People
Do you
complain
think-
about length, but I honestly don't mind. I don't know. Maybe I'm
No,
just
no.
back in the old days, we got episodes
Let's-
every 2 weeks, and they
let's
were
not-
only half an hour. I don't know. Like, I don't mind length if it's good.
No. Don't you remember? I remember. I was a boy, and we did GuildGab number 25 or whatever it was. I don't even think this was what. I think this is when we might have only just started doing it live.
Right. Yeah.
What was the season 2 episode where we went to Glint's domain? Something memories.
Oh
or
yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. And I remember Corvus being like, "Yeah, this one was pretty short." And now I'm sat here going, "Was it though?
No,
Was it really?"
No,
Like-
Compared
like
to
that-
the prologue, it was.
The
I
Schlumberger-
said back in
That's-
season, listen, yes, the prologue set a really, really, really high standard, and then we were let down with episode 1. I said all last season, I said, now that we know we're going right into season 5, I would be perfectly fine with shorter episodes, smaller maps, if they came out more often. Now, they have been coming out like at the 2-month mark, whereas before, sometimes 3 months, sometimes it was even delayed longer. So technically, yes, they are coming out faster, and this one was a little bit shorter, but the story's got to hit hard. It's got to be very impactful, and the prologue set up so much. The prologue was so
wasn't, like,
mind-blowing that
we
this
were,
just
we
fell
were all
flat.
surprised by the length of the prologue, but I don't think.
Right.
But I don't think the length. Again, I don't think the length was the problem here. There was no big reveal. There was. I'm not
Right.
expecting a cliffhanger every time.
I
But
agree.
something that makes me go, "Oh, what's next?"
This
There wasn't
episode-
really a direction at the end of
It
this
didn't
one.
have a lasting impact. Like
It
the
just
last,
felt like
the
one of
last
those,
entire
"What's next,
season,
Commander?"
the
thing.
last entire season. At the end of each episode, I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "Oh my god!" Like major things happened in like almost every single episode, and even the prologue set up this like, "Whoa!" This episode didn't do that.
No.
It sets
And
up
I
the
don't- I-
possibility of something really badass happening. And I understand you got to
Which
have
is fine,
episodes
it's
like that,
episode 1,
right? And I
you know.
understand that. Like I said, it's not like the most horrible thing in the world, but it's that doesn't mean that it didn't not. I didn't walk away impacted by this episode.
People think as someone said earlier, it's the whole quality versus quantity thing, but I don't really. I think it should be easier to do high quality if there's less, right? And I'm totally fine with more frequent but shorter, even if it works out even shorter than previous seasons. I don't really mind, but I want something that I want them to plant hooks. I want them to be, just a lot of. I just want quality, man. It could be an hour. I'm fine with watching a show for an hour. I don't really mind this. I just want.
But you don't get a new episode every 3 months, though, do you?
No.
Like,
No, I don't know. This one felt short, and it was kind of, at least at the end for me, disappointing / kind of low quality. And that's what made the length stand out to me, was like, well, it was short. Like, you could have pulled something a bit more impressive. And so I just hope that they can continue doing this length. That's my point. I just want it to be
it's
a bit of a higher tier, like last season was.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like, I can accept that they want to go for slightly shorter things to kind of increase the release cadence, but no, it wasn't long enough, man. Like, even the story instances weren't.
Like,
even the story instances themselves weren't particularly long, and the only reason it took me as long as it did is because I spent 15 minutes trying to find a Raven shrine that was caught behind a poison cloud that I couldn't quite find after the second room.
Yeah, that maze.
My
problem with the story is, I think, very different from anything you guys are talking about. The length, of course, is a little concerning. The surprise at the end, or the overall thing, I was actually okay with. It's a little bit of a cop-out to say, well, we're going to wait here for the vigil, and Ritlock's going to go and scout some paths or whatever. But for me, the problem is, and the story's been this way for a long time. It's not new. But when you have a short episode, it's easier to spot, I think. You're just watching a movie. You're not really playing a game so much as I'm just walking along listening to dialogue until it's over. There's one or two fights. There's one or two fights, and that's it. Even in the Raven maze, which I liked the choices and stuff like that, and that was fun to talk about with chat. I'm just walking around a maze. There's no fighting. You just walk around until you get to the next thing, and you do your whatever, and like that's it. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like you're watching a movie, sort of, rather than playing a game.
That's okay if the movie is hella engaging.
Yeah.
And it wasn't. That's the problem.
No. And to be honest, I'm trying to think back to like season 2. Like we had updates every 2 weeks then. You know, they had to have been around this length. I can't imagine they were much longer. If they
I
were
think
all-
I think that Living World 1, I think they had a lot of that content in the pocket already. All of that stuff, like they must have known where they were going up to at least the Queen's Gauntlet, and I mean knocking out South Sun and then Halloween and then and then Winter's Day, obviously 2 festivals. As
I would never expect them to go back to a 2-week cadence. That's just insane. I wouldn't want that.
I just mean in terms of length and stuff. If they came out and said, right, you know, we're gonna have like monthly installments to this, I'd be really surprised. But I think it would justify length. If they came out and said every 2 months, but in between some current events, equally surprised, but would justify this length. If it's gonna be 2 months with not really anything, maybe just Winter's Day, I'll be a bit like, that's kind of disappointing.
For me, it really is going to, for me, the telling tale will be what episode 3 is going to be like. Because, and I say this because episodes 1, which we've now played, and episode 2, to me, are one episode. They've just decided to cut it in half and say, here's a portion, and in 2 months, you're going to get the other portion. And maybe that's okay. Maybe. But episode 3, if they, maybe episode 3 will be different. If episode 3 is cut in half as well, then I think there's another discussion we need to have as to how much impact each story has equal to its length. The map itself was gorgeous. I loved it, even though the meta is kind of boring to me. The story I'm super interested in. I like the direction. I love Jormag. I really love Jormag. Even if it ends on kind of a bit of a, I don't want to say a letdown, but more of a boring or mediocre sort of thing.
I think a lot of it's gonna, maybe not just for me personally, but for just in general, I think a lot of it's gonna come down to the cadence. If we have to wait even close to the same as we did with the previous seasons, this isn't really gonna work. I don't think for the general player base.
Well, no, and
I think there
really
needs
don't
to
think
be
that's gonna
something.
happen.
No, I don't either. I just think if you can't do it every month and a half, 2 months, then please just sprinkle in some current events. You know, add some little extra things around.
Cooley said that on Guild Chat they said that they were going to sprinkle in something in between the releases, and that we should only have 2 months to wait until episode 2. So they even hinted at something about Marjorie and Casimir, like current event type things. That would be phenomenal.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
because that would bring
if it
us back
expands on
into that
characters.
cadence of like season 2, where almost every week, you know, there was something to log in for.
Actually, that's not true. They tried to do the 2-week cadence for season 2, and then they had to take a 3-month break in the middle.
Well, because they were doing full episodes every 2 weeks.
I forgot about that.
If you just do a little mini event that expands upon some background lore, some character stuff, like if it is about Marjorie and Casimir, you know, it's like, okay, because that was kind of like they didn't really go anywhere. Like Marjorie was pacing back and forth in front of a bookshelf, worried because Cass wasn't answering her, and then that was it. That was all that we saw of her in the episode. So if there's like a current event in like
side
3 weeks,
proper,
like a side story, that would be phenomenal.
With Marjorie and Cass, we go to the Dead End Bar, you know, we talk, and then a couple weeks later after the next episode, you know, maybe something's going on there, like something that evolves alongside the main story, but kind of offset. So we kind of consistently have things coming.
Can we switch gears just a tiny bit? I want to ask you guys, did you notice in one of the houses in the fort, there were a bunch of open crates?
Yeah.
And it appears that inside the crates are chunks of jade.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
What does that mean? Like, I know obviously what it's referencing, but like what the hell? Why the hell would they have chunks of?
If you say the C word, I'm leaving.
Cantha.
Ah, no. Oh god.
I just don't know why would they have it there. It seems a bit out of place.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's like
It's a subtle hint for those who found it. Like, if you're
I
looking.
guess. But it's just so weird.
Do you know what's so weird? Like 2 nights ago, I had some weird fever dream that they confirmed Cantha for the 3rd expansion.
Everybody's had that fever dream. You're late.
Yeah.
I've got another
The
Fire
problem
question
is
for
that
you.
I don't want it. It's like everyone else wants it. It's just
my friend, let me tell you
just want
about
more
the glory that
Cantha
is
music.
Cantha. Let Jormeg tell you the way.
yeah. God.
That's like their ace in the hole. Are you kidding me? That's their
No.
that's their jewel that they're just holding and waiting.
They're just it's on the no. Like honestly, no. This Cantha thing needs to just stop. It's not happening, and everyone just needs to deal with it. It's
You're
I
fired.
think maybe I'm in the camp where you're fired again, Alex. I'm in the camp of I would honestly rather they hold off on Cantha for Guild Wars 3 or something.
Oof.
So that
I kind of
Guild Wars
don't
3 is
want
even
it.
worse than Cantha. Let's not even go there.
Guild Wars 3
Um,
needs to be beyond. It needs to
what
be out in space.
if-
Guild Wars Beyond. Yeah.
So this episode we had Bram following us around and fighting with us a lot more, and everybody else just seen ravens instead of seeing 100 Brams.
Right.
What do you
I
think
would rather
about
100 Brams, dude.
what do you than the ravens? What do you think about the weird but possibility that they could reintroduce heroes into Guild Wars 2?
well, they got rid of them during development.
The problem is Guild Wars 2's open world isn't instanced. It's open world. So
Yeah.
I
But
mean,
it
you have
would
pets
give
and you have summonable
some
things. They did add. There was they added. You can have 2 different because you can summon things to to help you.
Yeah.
You can summon 2 of them now. I think instead of just 1.
To what? Sorry.
2 like elemental pets, or the raven from this
pet
instance, or
whistles,
the
the-
cannon box, or whatever.
Oh wait, does the pet whistle actually help you? I just thought it was.
It fights
That
No,
with
was
it's
you,
not-
yeah.
it's like yeah.
Not the
What?
dog
Fight-
whistle. The...
That's pay to. It's
No,
pay
no,
to
no, no,
win.
not the dog whistle.
No,
No. Since the
Like the
launch of the
ogre
game,
pet
there's
whistles
an
you can
ogre
get,
pet
like-
whistle
Oh, the ogre
that
pet.
summons
Oh,
a ranger
sorry, I'm
pet.
with you now.
It summons a ranger
Um,
pet even if you're not a ranger.
I'm with you. I'm
So
with you.
that
I'm
I
with
think
you.
there's
I'm
isn't
paying
there something
attention.
last season where you can summon like a paragon soldier
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
some
Yes,
sun
there is.
sphere?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can summon a
They've
sun
done the
sphere to
Jade
come help
statues.
you.
They're not Jane yeah, exactly, the Jade thing.
There's
Yeah.
a bunch of those
Heroes.
consumables throughout the game.
So I could
Heroes
see
is a
something like
weird
that.
one. There's not
Like-
really a need for it. I think is the biggest.
I agree
reason
that
they
there's not
wouldn't do
really a
that.
need for
There's-
it.
If they
think-
did do it, it'd have to work like the ranger pet did. That it'll gimp the player character to have that addition. In which case, there's no real need aside from to
No.
like
It would
spec
be
something as a
cool
tank. In which case, it's
have
just a bare
some-
build.
You could find some
But
use
think
for
about
whatever
the-
spare armor you have. And think about the gem store skins.
monetization possibilities.
No,
Think
it's,
about
it's
the-
too late.
Yeah,
Santa
for outfitting.
outfits you can give it.
Yeah.
And
They could just
you could be
re-release
Santa,
all
and it
the
could be an
minis.
elf that follows you
Okay, I'm
everywhere.
sold. Fashion Wars
No.
with your
No,
with
no,
your
no, no,
heroes.
come
Yes.
on.
If there was any kind of need for it mechanically, like if it was if like if the maps were instance or for strike missions, but why would they want to encourage people to do that
To
solo?
not play with each other,
I-
right?
Yeah.
If you need,
What if?
no one plays with anybody
Ex-
anyway.
Like,
Exactly.
Like we just
What if
happen to be
they
in the
started
same place
selling?
every now and again. Although actually,
What
I
if
did
they-
have my first bit of community interaction in a long while because I needed some help to kill that asshole bear berserker person in the top right hand corner of the new map because he's really hard. Anyway,
well,
sorry.
there you go. I
What if
played
they
with a
started
person
selling
this-
mounts with a sidecar for your hero?
God,
You
You
come
and your hero can
on.
adventure
Bro.
together.
Well, we could
Come
have a little
on!
elf Bram and like a little bat.
No,
beside
no,
you.
What
come
about
on,
what
let's-
about an
let-
extra seat on your raptor, and you and your guy can hop around the map?
No, let's just dive back into well, let's
Alex,
try and make
a saddle for your hero is only
Dude,
200
Alex.
gems. You can afford it.
let's try
Alex,
and keep our
Ames is
tenuous
just-
grasp on reality, shall we?
All right,
He's just getting
Cantha.
into his new job at NC Soft. It's fine. It's just- Practicing for the NC
Marketing executive MMO Inks. Follow on Twitter for free gems. Can see it now.
No, Gears, I would pay for swimsuits, so I do tease with Lord Farron's Speedo.
But no, right? But no, like we don't need heroes in game. If like
No, they're not needed.
Just to be able to equip spare gear you have on something, you know.
I have no spare gear. It all just gets.
Imagine how much money you would spend on transmutation charges if you could,
Oh
you know,
my
use
God.
the wardrobes on your heroes.
Oh, no.
That's why we got
no.
the templates now. The
you
gear
could give
templates.
Tiny some ice
build templates for heroes as well. Let's
You
let's
need to
have
buy
those
a,
at 150
you need to buy a
gems.
slot.
If you want to get on your mount, make sure you've got a mount skin equipped on your hero.
Otherwise, you'll leave your hero behind.
Oh dear. No, like if there are particular things that if they wanted to do, they should have done years ago. If they wanted to introduce heroes into the game, like NPCs to help to fight alongside you or whatever, it should have been done years ago. If they start putting in stuff like that now, it sends a very, very negative message about the state of the game.
Yeah, to be honest, the second they would add something, everyone would just assume that there's no player base and it was necessary just to be able to do content.
That's exactly my point. And you know, someone was talking to me the other day about the gem store and, you know, the monetization and all that kind of thing. And I said to them, it's like you'll know that the game is in trouble and is relying on the gem store when stuff stops being removed from the gem store. When the flash sales stop, things return and they don't disappear after 3 or 4 days or whatever it is, and they build up the library or the marketplace back to like everything that's ever been in. So when you see the wizard hat and the bunny ears and the shades coming back, that's when you know that they're really going ham on the
they're worried that people they would be they would show that they were worried that people wouldn't be around for the next flash sale or something, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So... it's and the thing is, something like heroes, it's unnecessary. They might think it's a cool little feature, but it just sends the wrong message, and they're not needed either. Like if suddenly in the next expansion they say, all right, you've got to unlock heroes the way that you did mounts in Path of Fire. You know, mounts actually have a purpose, right?
Yeah.
You know, they get you from A to B faster. They've got their own cool little mechanics. If you think about like the Jackal Skyways, that kind of thing.
They have amazing skins available on the gem store.
Amazing skins available for the gem store. And I need to share something with you that I'm definitely not going to share live about that after the stream's done, because I could get into a lot of trouble for it.
You're fired again.
I'm fired again.
Double fired, man.
I'm fired again.
It's a record, I think.
But yeah, I mean,
Gears just reminded me of something else. No new legendary this episode.
Yeah.
No Gen 3 legendaries. No new.
I doubt there'll be a legendary this whole saga. Yeah,
I think they're done with legendaries.
I
think that's a mistake.
That really disappoints me.
It's very much a mistake. It's especially because they've streamlined, like on their end, the creation of them. That you've got 3 recipes, and then you've got the end model.
That being said, if they're doing this kind of half episode idea, maybe 1 per episode is going to be like every 2 episodes now.
Maybe, yeah. I mean,
that's
if
possible.
they were gonna, I mean, if Gen 3 legendaries or whatever are, you can't straight buy legendaries Flipperdo. The second generation, you actually have to earn and craft yourself. Like if they're gonna start putting the amount of effort, stuff like Exordium or the Binding of Ipos or Ixquatl or whatever it is, like the last couple that came out, those like really, really high energy ones, the ones then they look fantastic, especially with Exordium as well, because it performs different animations with different classes. If that's the direction they're going to go with legendaries, then yeah, maybe I can understand them having a little bit more time. But I really would have thought they would have said we'll be unveiling our 3rd generation of legendary weapons in season 5 or Ice Brood.
So
Excuse me,
So they
Saga.
could have, well, they could have said that at the announcement, right, of the saga.
yeah.
Right.
To kind of.
So let me ask you
Hell,
then,
they
what
needed more stuff.
what is expansion like content then? Like,
Well,
what are we
we
waiting?
had
What are we waiting for to
cooking.
see?
Joel, wait, is Joel crafting a 500 here? I'm stupid.
Elite
Yeah, dual
specializations.
You don't need dual
We're not
crafting
getting
at
elite
500 though.
specializations though.
Is there anything else that needs it?
No, not really. Everything's got it now, aside from dual crafting, and you don't need it at all.
Mm,
My question is, ArenaNet has said that this saga is supposed to give us expansion-like features,
Yeah.
meaning at least I take it to mean that you may not need another expansion because these sagas will replace those.
Mhm.
I don't really think that's true, but
no.
that's what they're trying to sell us. So my question is, what are we missing so far that would be expansion-like features that ArenaNet has confirmed that isn't just sitting on the table? Like elite specializations,
Elite
they've
specs,
said,
easy, yeah.
but elite specs are on the table. They've said that it's not likely you're going to see them for this.
No.
Yeah, but the thing is,
But the thing is, I think of anything they could add to the game, new elite specs are probably the most
it's tricky. 'cause
time costing. Well, I don't know,
Yeah,
my words.
just to keep all
But
that balanced.
the most amount of time, the most amount of development ever, and to be honest, it's a lot of coordination between teams too. It's balance teams,
Oh, yeah.
it's art teams, it's lore teams. Like it's a lot of. That's like a studio-wide project, and I really, while I was hoping to hear about it a few months back at the announcement, I don't blame them for not adding it this time. That's
Yeah.
a hell of a lot of work to add.
yeah.
I
mean,
think that's like the one
thing-
feature that we should give them a pass on for not
And
having this.
I'm gonna say this. And Nike's probably gonna disagree because I know he doesn't like Path of Fire, but another Path of Fire, like it had everything, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, the metas were a bit iffy, true,
Yeah,
but
bounties weren't explored enough. But I think I agree. I think
Path of
another
Fire was
expansion like
packed
that
full
would
of
have been
content.
great.
It really was. It was accessible. It kind of pushed the skill ceiling a little bit because
Yeah.
Heart of Thorns just went full ham and did it and spiked the difficulty curve way too quickly for the player
And
base.
then they nerfed it down. But
Yeah.
I think Path of Fire was like a reasonable step up. I
Yeah,
think.
like the Path of Fire difficulty should have been Heart of Thorns difficulty, and then Heart of Thorns difficulty should have come in with Path of Fire,
Sure.
if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I agree.
Have that kind of difficulty progression there. But honestly, Path of Fire had everything, man. It had a new guild hall. Eventually, it had raids. It had new elite specs. It had some new gear stack combinations. It had mounts. It had a really cool story. It had some fantastic set pieces. And yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I think one thing that they're missing that a lot of MMOs have that really add to the longevity of the game is PvP in the open world. And with world v world listen though, imagine next expansion next year, whatever, Cantha, factions, and zones in the open world that have faction warfare for whatever lore reason they can think of. I know, but you look at any MMO, okay, any kind of struggling MMO, any kind of average to kind of crappy, the scene that's there is always the PvP. If the combat's fun, people will play the same game for 10,000 hours. You know, even if there's not much support, and the benefit of open world stuff, it's why things like lineage and stuff are still going on, is because there's that kind of, I don't know, people just like that stuff. There's a lot of depth to it if they add like sieges. I don't know. Obviously, don't make it,
Corvus.
don't make it crap for the people who don't like it. But
Okay,
add
right.
You can make it
specific areas
opt-in.
for that.
Yeah.
okay, so
Corvus.
here's what they need to look at. Here's what they need to
We
look
have
at.
that. It's called World vs. World.
No, but
There's a
this is
whole-
what I'm saying.
There's a
The
whole
problem
map
with World
zone
versus,
for anybody who wants that.
I know. Okay.
Look, well,
World versus World. Okay, there's a lot of problems with World v World, and a lot of that is to do with the fact that it's almost its own mode. I would love PvE builds, PvE skills, all this kind of stuff. I don't want it to ruin and get in the way of people doing PvE. But if there was a specific zone for that had maybe impact on the surrounding maps and it didn't feel separate. The problem with Wobbly World is that you have to go to a different menu. It feels like you're loading up a different game essentially. It's scary for new players. And it doesn't really have anything. It has to have its own reward system. It has to have all of these different things in place. If it was just blended in,
I've got to say
normal
that
game, it'd be fine.
I've played a lot of games with PvP servers. In fact, I think everything up to Guild Wars 2, I was on a PvP server. And inevitably, the same thing always happens. The big boys, the top guys, sit at the starter zone and wait for the noobs to come out to slaughter them en masse and never let them enjoy the game.
But I'm not saying it's like, oh, this is the expansion. You're trying to play the story. Oh, you get jumped by some thief somewhere.
Actually, that does happen quite a lot in Dangerous. People just hide out in ships outside the starting area and just cane the dudes inside.
I know. It's what I used to do in Rift.
I don't want to.
No, it's easy enough to prevent that just by making it opt-in. Just like
yeah.
I don't want it to be the normal zones have it. I just mean there should be a location that's not in this separate abandoned game mode that people are intimidated by just because you have to go through a loading screen, all this stuff. I think if it was just part of...
I actually have the game for you, Corvus. I actually have the perfect game for you.
I don't want this for myself. I just think it would be healthy for the game.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? It's called Elder Scrolls Online, Corvus. And what they do is they deliver...
Alex, you're fired again.
Fuck you. Excuse me, sorry. What they do is they deliver...
Oh my God.
They deliver new expansions with new areas and new classes and new bosses and new public dungeons and new private dungeons and then new trials, which is the equivalent of raids. And then in between
this is called GuildGab, not Elder Scrolls Gab.
This sounds really interesting.
Hey, Alex.
My point is that what they do is that but Elder Scrolls Online, ZeniMax Online, deliver everything that Guild Wars 2 tries to deliver. So the latest expansion elsewhere came out.
Alex, this is GuildGab, not Elder Scrolls Gab.
Okay.
Do you have any idea how many times this episode I've tried not to mention Final Fantasy 14? But
she did it. She said the fuck word.
Peachy, you're fired, dude.
I'm fired.
You're fired from your own podcast.
Welcome back to Corvus and Ink's Gab.
The point is, right, that it's perfectly doable, and other studios have demonstrated this. And all we want is the best for our game.
Of course we do.
We want the best for our game.
Wait, which one's ours again?
I don't know.
All of them.
Hang on. It's in me browser. Oh, RuneScape. There we are. Yeah. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. No, but obviously, there's game modes and all of that works. It can work. It all can work. It's just a matter of delivering it to this player base with the kind of game and combat and systems that Guild Wars 2 has set up for itself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's just got to deliver on that, and it has to implement it correctly. And some things it does. Sometimes, I mean, episodes come out and we're like, oh my God, this was a home run. Holy crap, this was amazing. And sometimes it falls flat. So
I just wanted to shake stuff up a bit as well. Do something a bit crazy. Experiment around.
That's what I want for the story. That's why I want
it for story. I want it for everything.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
One positive that I do have that I do want to add is that this map is just endlessly farmable for the Eternal Ice. Like, that stuff just drops like it goes out of fashion. So if you guys still need to do your Skyscale achievement, ignore all the other Season 4 stuff, farm the Eternal Ice, and then just trade it in with Karma at the at the Boreal Weapon Vendor. Which, that as well. Oh, yeah, there we go. Something really cool and positive. All right. How's about those tiered achievements? Right, that's such a cool little idea.
That is good. I like
They
that.
just
That
kind
was
of
really
trickle.
helpful.
They just trickle out those rewards for you. So you get the the Eltrite ingots. Then I've just finished the hunger one. That you get the mastery point for at the end, and then when you get halfway through, you get some ingots. Then you get like an orichalcum inscription, which sells for a couple of gold. It's a nice thing. You get more more ingots when you finish, and then that's such a cool little thing. Honestly, I really like that. I think that's such a really cool idea to have like
Agreed.
to have tiered rewards.
It's like the meta achievements that they have, right? Like complete all of these achievements, but having it all contained in one spot with one consistent achievement. I think it's a great idea, and there's a lot of achievements in the game that could do with like going over past achievements and kind of adding tier rewards to those two.
Yeah.
Especially those freaking collect the golden coins ones with like 5,000 tiers.
Oh god, yeah. But no, I think it's just a nice little, because it's very easy to see a big old collection of like 40 items that you need, and to just go, oh my god, 40 items, I don't want to go and do that. But then you go, oh hey, well if I do the first 5, I get like a mystic coin or something,
Yeah.
And no, I think it's a great idea. I think they need to build on that.
For sure, and it makes more like, for me, I've never been an achievement guy, but if there's a cool reward attached to it, I'll probably go for it. And those super long ones, the fact that, I don't know, maybe I've got like ADHD or something, but like I prefer kind of instant rewards. It takes a lot of my brain power to concentrate
Gamers just
on
want
like a
instant
really
rewards
long
these days.
term.
They don't want to play the game for rewards, they just want them.
Okay, bro.
That's why I like the special action key. Push button, win.
Yeah. Credit
No,
card
but,
to
like,
gems
it
is just
encourages-
endgame, man.
It encourages people like me, who maybe they need to psych themselves up before taking on a mad long achievement, to just go for it, because you just do a little bit every day and you get something for doing it as well. I think it's good. Infinite kill count achievement, that'd be cool. Oh yeah, with a reward trick, that's actually a sick idea.
One thing I wanted to mention real quick before we end, those Raven riddles that we got in the maze. One of them I found especially interesting. It asked you to choose between 2 books. If there was a fire in the library, which one would you save? And one was how to beat the dragons, like for good, and yay, the world is peaceful. Or how to unlock magics that could defeat the dragons, or
Historical
one that would preserve the history of before the humans came to Tyria. I thought that was fascinating, and
I guess everybody chose the history, right?
I did.
The correct
I chose the
Yeah,
humans.
correct
I
answer.
don't
chose
want to
arcane.
destroy the dragons. Really,
We
I've not really been a fan of that the whole time. And B,
Right.
I want to know more about the history. I don't know, that one felt like almost like a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Arcane.
Yeah,
No,
you want to kill the
no.
dragons.
Well, no, the thing is, it's like we've killed 3 dragons without this, so we're doing okay, aren't we?
Plus, we have a ring now, so it's not even really that
point.
Well,
It's like
it's lore.
Which one did you choose? Did you choose the queen or the prince?
I chose
the queen.
I chose the
To
prince
save
to
the
save.
queen.
Prince
I
was
let
an
the
asshole.
queen die. Yeah, he was an
Well,
asshole.
Yeah, but the thing is, the
she
queen's gonna.
old.
Dog. She's
gonna die anyway.
Yeah,
I
she's
think
gonna
no
die
matter
anyway,
what you
and
picked, it made you feel bad, though. Like, oh, so you are like this, are you? And I'm like,
I don't know, but she would have been more. I feel like if we could ask the queen, she would have been like, "Save the prince."
Yeah. Oh,
Save,
yeah.
Save my ungrateful son, please.
Yeah. She probably would have gone mental and like psychotic if it was like, "Oh yeah, I killed your son. I let your son die or whatever." You know?
Ah, that was that.
They were fun though. They were.
That
Fun.
was
It was cool.
those choices were they. That was literally so Raven, wasn't it?
Oh my god.
We've been waiting for that.
He-
Got it.
Waiting the entire episode. The entire episode. Guys. All right, we
Was there
are
much
about
with-
to hit an
Oh,
hour
okay.
and 45 minutes, so
Oh,
we're
damn.
gonna wrap it up here. guys.
Hopefully, we don't have to wait too long.
Hopefully, yes.
Episode 2.
Someone said they said on Guild Chat that we are only going to have about 2 months to wait till episode 2.
See you guys in 2020, boys.
That's right.
Are we going to do a Winter's Day one? Do we want to do a Winter's Day one?
It's nice for the Christmas vibe, but it's Winter's Day. There's never anything to talk about.
Wow, so cold.
So those orphans who have needed socks for 7 years.
Those poor orphans. What are they
You know
doing
me,
with
man.
these socks
Screw
and
the
these sweaters?
orphans, dude.
Look,
Screw the orphans,
I don't
man.
know about the rest of you, but I'm a nice guy. Every year, those orphans get socks every day, whether they like it or not.
Out of
It's-
the goodness of your heart. They
Out of
don't.
the goodness
man,
of
Just
it's
looking for
my
that
heart.
karma. That karma.
It does mean it's also because it's Christmas. It is time for my favorite piece of Guild Wars 2 artwork. It's the one with the where the orphan gives you the little picture and says thank you for saving the orphanage. You just
And you
stuff
eat
in
it.
his face for the
Yeah.
Yes. Classic.
All right, guys, you can check out Inks, Alex, and Corvus in the chat here if you're watching live on Twitch. Here are the links to their channels. Please go and follow them for more Guild Wars 2 content. And if you're watching on YouTube, scroll down into the description. All of their links and referral links for the game are down there, so please check them out.
Give us money.
We will see you on the next Guild Gab. Thank you for tuning in, guys. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the game.
See
Take
you
care.
later.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.